generation repair for Chico CT. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Red?
Okay, I think I'm finally on there. Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. So in this docket, GPA is asking for approval to permit its performance management contractor, Temis, to procure a hot section exchange and necessary generator repairs for the Chico combustion turbine power plant. And the total cost of this project, and that includes both hot section exchange and necessary generator repairs, is estimated at about $3.3 million. For the generator repairs, some of the generators are going to be shipped off island to an off-island facility, and that's going to cost $1.5 million. And the replacement of the hot section exchange can be performed locally at a cost of $1.8 million. Now, it's estimated that the generator repairs are going to take 4 months from the date of shipment and 4 months from the purchase order delivery for the hot section exchange. These won't be here immediately. The immediate repair of the Chico CT plant is critical to ensure sufficient load capacity in the island-wide power system. And those of you that were here the other night, you remember the summary of GM Benavente about what steps GPA is taking to avoid load shedding. And this repair of the Chico CT is a part of that overall plan to ensure that the island has sufficient load capacity. The Chico CT is an old generator now. It's over 25 years old, but it has been something of a workhorse. I think has been used a lot, and it has provided power for the system. It was operational prior to Typhoon Marwan, but after Marwan, it seemed that there were various problems with it. It wasn't synchronizing due to Exeter modular automatic voltage regulator issues. And GPA had a company come in, which is baseload power, to do an overhaul for the Chico CT. And that company did a number of reports and found a lot of problems with the generator. The rotor, Exeter, basically there was water coming out of the line sideways. So I think that it seems the Typhoon damaged the Chico CT. There are also some cracks that were noticed, and I think those might have occurred before the Typhoon. But it was working before the Typhoon and not working after the Typhoon. So Temis, the PMC, concluded that there is a need for a complete replacement of the hot section exchange inside the turbine rotor and a full disassembly of the generator rotors. As I said, that hot section exchange will be performed on island, but the rotor has to be shipped off island for inspection and disassembly to determine whether coil replacements or a full rotor rewind is necessary. So, of course, with the PMC, the way it works, it's the PMC, not GPA directly, that seeks the contractor to perform these repairs. And this, of course, was authorized by the Consolidated Commission on Utilities. Now, it's clear that the Chico CT will not be operational unless the generator is repaired and the hot section exchange replaced. Following the inspection and generator overhaul, Temis determined that the generator rotor sections required repair. The CT generator rotor was grounded, requiring further inspection and repairs. The generator and Exeter ground was likely caused as I said earlier, by the water intrusion into the generator from the typhoon. And a borescope inspection on May 9th before the typhoon indicated that there were cracks on the high-pressure turbine. When I look at this, I think it's clear that the repair and operation of the GECO-CT is essential to the island-wide power system. Right now, we're in a difficult situation with insufficient load capacity. And I think that GPA is trying different methods or techniques to replace some of the load capacity. But with the situation of Caprice 1 and 2, it's very dangerous just to rely on them alone. So having the additional 20 megawatts from the GECO-CT will at least create, hopefully, the possibility that we won't be faced with as much load shedding in the next couple of years until the new power plant comes online. In prior cases, by the way, the PUC has determined, for example, docket 21-12, that the repair of the GECO-CT is essential to the island-wide power system. Without the availability of the unit, there is the possibility of load shedding. Now, there is a concern, I have a concern in reviewing this. In 2016, the generator was replaced, and I think that cost over $3 million, as I recall. But it seems since 2016, the GECO-CT has cost over $11.6 million in extraordinary repairs and replacement costs, so it's not cheap. But the question is, if you don't do that, how are you going to solve the load capacity? I mean, there's other ways we can do it too, which I think GPA is exploring with the GECO diesels and possibly bringing in other units. But at least this, in the near term, hopefully within 4 months or so, will provide additional load. Chemis is in the process of seeking proposals from contractors to undertake the repairs, and maybe GPA tonight can give us an update of where they stand on that. But when I look at this overall, I believe that GPA is trying to take reasonable steps to deal with load shedding. This is one of the possible tools in the arsenal to avoid load shedding. And they're representing that it will assist the power system if we have that additional 20 megawatt load. So for that reason, I recommend that the PUC approve the contract with Chemis to procure and replace the hot section exchange and generator repairs for the GECO-CT. GPA should be authorized to allocate the amount of $3.3 million in revenue funds for such replacement and repair. And the order that I prepared for your consideration would implement those recommendations.
Thank you, Fred. John, any comments?
There's the suggestion that's around what says 16, that's 60,
Testing. So, and again, the plan is once the new Okudu power plant, these machines are going to go back into reserve, and therefore it's going to be there'll be a far few in between for major repair work like it is today. An update on the machine, the GECO-CT shaft is now in Texas, and so they'll be making an assessment of it, and pending your approval, then I can authorize what repair is necessary from the machine, because again, it's going to take a month and a half to bring back, and then we'll have to put it onto the generator. So that keeps us on track of the end of the year. As far as the hot section exchange, they're still trying to source that scenario. However, the machine can run right when it does come back, although it's got some, we'll have to limit it in terms of operating hours until we can get the hot section exchange. But you'll be able to run with it once the generator is repaired, yeah, in December. But we have to start sourcing the hot section, which is estimated about 1.3, because the original quote that came in, it had to be all OEM products, and the one that they quoted wasn't, so they're rejecting that one. But yeah, in uncertain terms, the GCT is needed as part of the reserve, not only for today's load shedding, but actually as we move into the next 2 to 3 years until the Okulu power plant is complete.
Would you think of retiring it at that time then, John?
If we at that time, we can take a look at all the machines and say how much are we going to retire. The key here is that you're still going to need so much reserve for once every 4 years when you take down the steam turbine of the Okudo power plant. But the company, what will make us accomplish that and allow to retire more units is also what you call centralized energy storage batteries. The combination of that and the reserves will allow us to meet that load. And again, centralized is like another machine. You charge it in the daytime and shape the peak, because the peak is like this. So if you're taking that chunk away, then you need less resource.
When you take down the steam plant, when the new Ukudo plant is up, how long will that be down?
That's about a 30-day job. Once every 4 years, and it'll be done in January, the lowest peak time of the year.
That's about 68 megawatts then?
The steam turbine is 63, yeah. The three combustion turbines are 45 each, so 135.
Questions from the commissioners regarding this? First one.
Just one. You mentioned batteries. It just so happened that in today's Wall Street, the heading is called "Giant Batteries Help the U.S. Power the Heat Out through the Summer." And so, are we going to be purchasing any batteries?
That's the plan, and actually it's in one of my recommendations that's there. There's also, we've been working since the beginning of the year to try and get the federal government to fund batteries for us, because it would improve the reliability of the system and also the reliability of the bases. So I was asking for actually 180 megawatts of battery for 900 megawatt hours. So you run that 180 for 5 hours straight, so, or 90 megawatts for 10 hours straight. So, but right now we're looking at trying to see whether we carve out and try and do one battery, 145 for 225 megawatt hours for 5 hours. So that way you can charge that in the daytime from the renewables early in the morning. Part of also this experience that's coming on is that if we have all the utility scale renewables coming on bidding on phase 4, have 100% renewable shifting, that's a huge expense for the batteries, and therefore it's only going to be used for that utility scale solar. So part of the best is, so we're adjusting that to make it like a 50% shifting and 50% in the daytime. So then when we get a centralized battery, we can catch that 50% and others and use it another period of time. So the economies of scale brings us to a much cheaper system than it costs about 6 cents a kilowatt hour for each utility scale. Whereas if you take that centralized battery and we spread it over 1.5 billion kilowatt hours, it's less than half a cent for the energy storage to be utilized 24/7 versus the utility scale is only utilized by the power purchase agreement owner. No? So that's where the economies of scale are. And that, again, we've been trying to see whether the military or others will fund that. We put 145 megawatt in Anderson, one in Naval Station. That one battery will run that whole base for the whole day. Gives us in time in case of a blackout or whatever. You have enough energy to run the whole day. While at the same time, if it's not needed there, we can run any part of the system. We'll be on the transmission side of the house. So.
Hi, John. I remember when we had, I want to say, a couple of years back when we were looking at building the power plant and where we were. I think we had, you created this diagram, I remember. It was almost like a timeline of all the generators that we had, the plants and their capacities, and then what was going down, what was going on. Is there an updated schedule of that by any chance? Because, you know, with one and two, it looks like it says 40 megawatts. Yesterday, that's kind of confusing in the 45, but we're only really getting 45 out of both.
Number one, we're getting 41, and
Right.
number two is 0 right now.
There's 0.
And I think once we get it on, then we'll
And then we have
open
the
it
Jigo CT.
35 and 41 Jigo CT. I'd say I have it in my GM report. I can just
Okay.
forward that.
Sure.
Because every
I just want to see like an update somewhere where we can see what's coming on.
shows you all the units that are operating, what's limited, and everything like that. So we have that. I do that. We do that all the time.
Okay.
So
Because I'm hearing the 20 megawatts here and 45 the battery, it's getting confusing, so I appreciate it.
yeah, and the Caprice one at 41 has been humming along, and I don't want to touch her. Yeah.
And we don't want to say the words, right?
Yeah. So once we get number two up and we find a sweet spot, just let her sit on the sweet spot.
Okay.
And the one that floats now is the PD 8 and 9. They're the ones that come up and down because they have more flexibility and they're more reliable. No?
Right. Because I think I know that there's like, we have a generation capacity, but we've never really run it at full capacity. I just want to see what those loads are.
Yeah, the PD 8 and 9 does run all the way up to, we run them typically at 40 and cases like now we're running about 42, but and actually 43, they still can put out top capacity.
Okay. Appreciate the update.
Mike, go ahead.
Hi, John. So I understand that the need for the replacement and repair is mostly because of typhoon-related damage. That's been that's the theory. I'm wondering if there's any insurance coverage that might be available to pay the cost.
Yeah. The generator side of the repair, that's a reimbursable 90/10. In other words, we only get paid 10% of that. So FEMA's aware of it already, and they're doing the work order. So once we repair the generator side, which is 1 million, then we only pay about 10% of that.
That's the part that's covered. The other
Yeah.
replacement is not.
The other one is not covered because that's over operation of the time and all of that. So
No, you can't show the causation of the typhoon.
we're trying, and so we'll see how far they will.
So you'll get 1.7 reimbursed from the
We
3.5.
get the generator side here. Whatever we do in the generator, whatever we find additional has to be worked on. They don't really differentiate. So whatever it costs us to get the whole generator unit back. And this is what I mentioned earlier. We can run it, but the hot gas is telling you that you should start changing it already. And that's why we're trying to do this.
Good.
Anything else from the commission?
We move to approve the proposed order.
Mike moves to second. Pete seconds. All in favor, say aye. Pedro, you and I? Pedro's a name. So 6-1, motion passes. Next item is GPA docket 2321, GPA justification and resubmission for approval to purchase FEMA bucket trucks. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Fred?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I just noted that GWA has filed an additional justification and submission. I just received it, so I haven't really been able to prepare on that. But previously, Ms. Rojas did submit a fact statement about the status of the bucket trucks to be purchased from FEMA. If you remember previously in docket 23, or in this docket rather, a few meetings ago, that the commission considered the bucket truck question. But at that point, GPA wasn't sure whether it wanted to purchase the 5 bucket trucks from FEMA. Now, according to the submission of Ms. Rojas, it contained a number of fact statements about status of that transaction and the need for the bucket trucks. And there were other documents, a price quote from the Federal Contracts Corporation as to the price of the bucket trucks. I think this was in your packet. And the total cost for the 5 bucket trucks that GPA is looking at now would be $1.977 million. So that's a part of the record in this matter. So from the facts stated by GPA, it now does want to purchase the 5 bucket trucks from FEMA. And these bucket trucks have been in GPA's possession since June 18 or 19. FEMA provided the trucks to GPA for its use during Typhoon Marwar recovery. The trucks are alleged to be near brand new and determined to be in good condition. Now, apparently, at least a couple of the trucks required repair. I think tonight you might want to request an update from GPA on the status of the trucks to make sure that the trucks they want to purchase are in good repair. GPA repaired at least one of the trucks. The real problem right now is that FEMA has stated to GPA that you only have until October 13th. If you want to purchase the trucks, you got to proceed ahead now. So there's something of an urgency in the decision before the PUC. As was discussed in the earlier meeting about these FEMA bucket trucks, there is a procedure where GPA can go through FEMA and the Federal General Services Administration, and also under local law, they can purchase these trucks without going through the normal procurement process. As I mentioned, they did receive a quote from the Federal Contracts Corporation. The 5 trucks would cost $395,400 each. These are 55-foot trucks. The VIN numbers on the trucks indicate 3 of them are 2023 and 2 of them are 2022. Now, assuming that the trucks are in acceptable condition, the price of $395,000 appears somewhat advantageous to GPA. Previously, GPA had estimated that the 55-foot bucket trucks would cost in the range of $500,000 each. And GPA recently purchased 2 45-foot for each bucket trucks at a cost of $487,999 each. The other advantage is the trucks are here now. GPA has them. If they go out for a bid, it's going to take 1 to 2 years probably for delivery. So that, I think, really is quite a big advantage. And total cost, again, $1.977 billion. GPA believes that the manufacturer of the trucks, Versalift, is a reputable company. So with the bucket trucks, I think previously, GPA had indicated that these trucks, of course, they're useful in their normal operations with the power system, but particularly after a typhoon, that although they had help during Marwar from FEMA, from the Navy and others, sometimes the bucket trucks weren't always available. And it is the case that GPA always maintains a fleet on hand of bucket trucks. I believe there are over 20 now, and some of them are older and some of them are not functioning. So this seems, in terms of the back presentation of what's available, that this is advantageous to GPA. That's how I would assess it. But I am recommending approval. But, excuse me, before you approve it, I think certain facts need to be established. And I'm hoping that GPA can do that tonight. One is just to have an assurance that the legal authority is there, to buy these bucket trucks from FEMA, that there's no problem under the procurement law. Secondly, that the 5 bucket trucks are in a state of repair that justifies the purchase. Third, the GPA will receive adequate warranties and guarantees from FEMA. Now, it appeared from the materials that were submitted, there are some warranties. Not exactly clear on their extent. And on the other hand, maybe this is an as-is condition purchase. I don't know, but I think GPA should clarify that. And finally, we don't really have anything at this point indicating a contract with FEMA, purchase order, and I think GPA needs to assure that there's going to be adequate proof here of the legal transfer, whether that's a contract of sale, a bill of sale, certificate of transfer or ownership. So if those requirements are satisfied tonight, I would support GPA in recommending that you approve purchase of 5 bucket trucks from FEMA.
Thank you, Fred. John?
Thank you, Mr. Yes, I think we are satisfying those requirements tonight based on what Teresa has submitted. In terms of, like you mentioned, the machines are here, the El Nino is here, and it's in our best interest to, keep the machines. As mentioned before, the one truck that was having issues, they were changing the pump today, and I think what I heard is that it's working, but I need to confirm it tomorrow. Warranties will be transferred, whatever warranties from the machine to us, and all that. So yes, we're ready to accept and make all these transactions through FEMA for the bucket trucks, and they're very, very nice pieces of equipment, 2022, 2023. And again, try and buy one now, it's going to take more than 1 year, towards the 2 years like Fred was mentioning, to get us bucket trucks. We do have 2 more in the pipeline, but they're one with electric PTOs, hydraulic controls, but that's probably another 18 months before we get it.
Fred, you had a comment?
Just to kind of summarize what Ms. Rojas presented in this justification, since I hadn't had a chance to read it, but it seems like it's seeking to meet the requirements that I suggested for applicant. And the statements here are that GPA does have the authority to purchase the 5 FEMA bucket trucks without a competitive procurement, and that's based on GPA's authority under local law, I believe is what's cited. It's stated that the 5 trucks are in a state of repair that justifies the purchase, and again stating that they appear to be nearly brand new. In terms of the the date, VIN numbers, and other factors. The one truck needed repair for a defective hydraulic pump. GPA has assessed the vehicle and the hydraulic system will be flushed and the pump replaced to restore the vehicle to service. 4 of the remaining trucks are operable and remain in service. GPA has received adequate warranties from FEMA, and those are manufacturer owners and a greenhouse gas emissions warranty. Other warranties are still being verified, but they've been attached to this presentation. And GPA will receive adequate proof of legal transfer of title to the bucket trucks. So there's a bill of lading, June 9, 2023, and some other documents have just been prepared. So that seems to be the process.
Okay. So the 4 points you brought up, Fred, they seem to have all been met then. Okay. John, what would this bring your inventory to on bucket trucks?
About 30 now.
30 in total then?
Yeah,
And
I had 25, and again, during any period of time during the storm, we had about close to 25 running, in addition to all the other ones that was being provided to us. But now we have 30 for machines.
two electrics coming in about a year and a half.
Yep, this is the PTO.
Are you still looking for more other than that at this point?
Yeah, the truss forward now will be electric trucks.
All succeeding trucks now will be electrics.
That's our plan right now. So they're actually working on the charging system. But I think the smart chargers were way too expensive, so they're going to rebid it for regular chargers. So once we get that in place and we'll do a contract for it and we'll proceed, including other types of trucks, Mr. Chair, the 4x4s, the panel, the chassis are there now for the electric truck. They just either put the van on or step van or like a flatbed or a bucket truck with the same chassis.
So the fleet's going to go over to electric in the future.
That's correct.
Any questions from the commission? Here, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just looking over the capital improvement project for 2024 and 2025. On that one, you are trying to order 5 bucket trucks. So what does this do? You buy this now to use this, or?
Yeah. We'll still be converting and retiring older bucket trucks.
Yeah,
Is that?
Probably 2 years. So I kind of.
What I'm saying is we have to order it now to get it in 2 years. So we'll be placing orders so that when they come in, we retire the older ones, no? Especially those that are not going to be running anymore.
Are you kind of leaning towards maybe year to year, maybe getting 2 bucket trucks or whatever and retiring older ones, having a stepwise replacement?
Otherwise, we'll go back to where we were before, where I had to go 4 or 5 on one time to try and catch up. And if we just maintain every year so much, then that's the plan.
Do you think it's going to be easier to maintain electrics going forward in the future? I mean, that's kind of what it appears like, that electric vehicles are probably easier to maintain.
Yes, there's less moving parts. There's the engine. This is mostly battery and motor, so very much more reliable. And then, of course, the energy costs will be lower because we're using the electricity instead of the diesel.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Want to clarify, John, I don't have the report in my binder, but I'm looking at it on my phone. So these The original, one of the original dockets was to get $5 million to purchase trucks. But with these five, it's $395,000 each, so it comes out to only 1.9 million, somewhere around there. That's what you're trying to do. We're trying to bring just 1.9 to get these trucks. Say what's the 5 million later? That's what. Okay.
So we'll roll in the other ones
While we
through
retire the old ones.
through the CIP program.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
Any questions?
Yeah, I know that, that actually didn't, we have was the report emailed to us? Okay, I didn't get a chance to review it. But I'm just curious about, Fred, maybe you can tell me the basis again for not having to go out to bid. Is it an emergency? Or is it just GPA's enabling law that allows it, this circumstance doesn't require procurement?
I had thought generally it's under the statutes that allow government of Guam to go through FEMA or through General Services Administration, and in some cases, local government general services, if the cost is 10% less. But Ms. Rojas seems to be informing us that under 5 GCA 5116, the GPA board received the authority, procuring authority for GPA, and the Consolidated Commission has authority and permits the award of any and all contracts in accordance with applicable procurement laws. And here, by 5 GCA 5004B, the purchase of the 5 FEMA trucks is considered a contract with the option to purchase by GPA and another government, the U.S. federal government. So when it's a government-to-government purchase, the statute exempts GPA's purchase of the FEMA trucks from Guam's procurement law. And with the approval of the purchase by Guam CCU through its resolution FY 2023-23, GPA has the authority, subject to PUC's approval, to purchase FEMA's bucket trucks without competitive bid.
That's a local Guam law?
Yes.
So government to government is exempt. Okay.
Anything else?
No. Motion to approve docket 2321.
Second. Mike seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Pedro? Pedro's a nay, so 6-1 again. Next item is GPA docket 2322, petition to approve GPA's fiscal year 2024 internally funded CIP ceiling cap. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Fred.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So first of all, I had told you in the report that I prepared that your hearing this matter tonight was conditioned upon the CCU passing a resolution approving the budget and the ceiling cap. And I was informed today by Ms. Rojas that there is a resolution, and she attached a copy of the resolution and also a signed letter of the general manager requesting that the PUC approve the budget cap. So I think the matter is properly before you this evening. Protocol. It requires GPA to submit their budget ceiling cap for CIP projects to the PUC by September 15th, and for the PUC to decide on the matter by November. So that's what's before you tonight is the capital improvement project cap for FY 2024. GPA had actually asked for approval for 2024 and 2025, but ordinarily, the commission approves just for the next year, but GPA submits estimates for the next 2 years. That's under the contract review protocol. So in this, what this always includes are general plant and engineering CIPs for certain matters such as the line extensions. Those are not included in the cap limit according to the contract review protocol. So the total we actually have the GPA is seeking for 2024 is $32,939,099. The general plant aspect of this includes items such as plant, improvements to the plants and the CTs, diesel overhauls and improvements, bucket trucks, networking equipment, diggers, SUVs, utility trucks, emergency underground reconstruction, substation breaker upgrades, and other miscellaneous items. The engineering expenditures include such items as the Benavente went through that during the last meeting and explained the need to replace that item. That's 1.4 million. The hot section inspection and exchange for the Chigo CT, which we've been covered this evening, that's 1,800. I'm sorry, if we didn't have a filing from GPA last year for the 2023 cap, but CFO John Kim has provided me with the information that that amount was 22 million, which is lower than this year's. But on the other hand, in FY 2022, the cap was 32,202,000. So the cap this year is maybe about 700,000 more than the cap in 2022. And when you subtract the carryovers, it seems that it's more consistent with prior year caps. So, since 2018, we varied between 20 and 30 million for the CIP budget. And therefore, I find that the cap they're requesting this year is really quite consistent with the prior year caps. Of course, a lot of the items in the general plan expenditures are for overhaul and replacement items for the Cabras 1 and 2 plants, combustion turbine improvements, diesel improvements, PD7, and the Greco units. And I think it could be well expected as these plants age that to keep them running, money is going to have to be put into them. The engineering projects for FY 2024, there is a cap of 9,384,000 plus. And that's higher, it's quite a bit higher than FY 2022, which was 2,192,000. But then if you look at two of the main engineering projects, I think it's understandable. One of those is 3,336,000 for the storage tank 1934 refurbishment. You remember at the fuel tank farm, Mr. Benavente previously has given us a lot of explanation of switching the fuels and how both 1934 and 1935 had to be cleaned out. To CFO Kim, this amount is for the normal work that Stanley is doing on the Hookadoo power plant. So that has to be done too. So basically then, we have two projects which amount to 6.5 million, and that kind of tells you why the engineering budget is higher this year. So, in my view, the projects they're recommending are reasonable and appropriate. And again, even with engineering, part of that is a carryover of about 1.4 million. So not likely that they would spend the entire engineering budget. Based on my review, I recommend that you approve the FY 2024 budget in the amount of $32,931,099. That's a cap, that's the ceiling cap. And it's really necessary for the plant overhauls, improvements, and other equipment and system upgrades. I prepared an order that will approve that CIP ceiling cap.
Thank you, Fred. John?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fred, thank you. That's a very comprehensive. And I'd like to note also that, yes, for everything over about 1.5 million and above, we will have to bring back to the PUC. But this allows us now to work and, again, what kind of delays occur. We start going to the bid process. We're not able to go through, and therefore, that means we didn't spend that money. But it allows us now at least for our team to plan moving forward. And again, everything over 1.5 will have to bring to the commission.
Thank you, John. Any comments from the commissioners?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. And fourth item for GPA docket 2323, net metering is not ready for this evening, right, Fred?
Yes, not ready, not filed yet.
Okay. All right. Thank you, GPA.
Thank you, commissioners. So it's been a long week.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda for GWA docket 2309, petition to approve and ratify conflicts and legal counsel fees. I believe that hasn't been filed yet either, Fred?
Correct.
Okay. So the next item, second one on the list is GWA docket 2310, Addition to approve the design and CM services for water line replacement of various bridges. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order, and I believe this is yours, Joe Pat.
Yes. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have to recuse on this as our part as a legal counsel for KWA's pending litigation. So that's going to apply tonight to docket matters GWA 2210, 2311.
Thank you, Mr. Pangolin, and you are recused from the 3 GWA dockets. Go ahead, Joe Pat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. This matter is before the commission pursuant to a request by GWA to approve its design and construction management services for waterline replacement at various bridges contract with GHD. And back in November of last year, GWA issued an RFP requesting the services of a qualified engineering firm to develop a procurement package for its waterline replacement at the various bridge sites, as well as to provide construction management services for the repair work on those bridges. And according to GWA, a total of 6 firms submitted proposals, but that GHD was selected as the top offer, and that GWA then negotiated a contract price with GHD, and they received authorization from the CCU to enter into an agreement with GHD at a cost of $1,232,000. I'm sorry, about $1,232,909. But that the CCU, at the request of GWA, also authorized an additional 10% contingency, which increased the total contract price to $1,356,199. Now, in this instance, GWA is seeking PC review and approval, since the contract cost will exceed $1 million. And it will also involve, according to GWA, the use of GWA bond funds. And as indicated in the ALJ report, this water line replacement at various bridges project is a substantial design and construction project. And according to a preliminary assessment prepared by GHD, it estimated that 16 water lines already require replacement, and that 4 sewer lines also require replacement, and that 7 pipelines require some kind of structural support repairs or replacement. And I reviewed the RFP, the proposed contract, and the scope of work, and based on these documents, GHD will perform site investigation and assess GWA's water and sewer lines with the goal of crafting recommendations for the rehabilitation and replacement of these water lines, and establishing a priority list of bridge water lines that will require GWA's immediate attention. And so this work will involve the preparation of construction drawings, specifications, cost estimates, supporting design calculations, construction schedule, a list of required permits and other documents necessary for the construction work. And with regard to construction management, GHD will act as a full-time construction manager for the initial construction projects until GWA submits that the budget for these construction management services will be depleted. So the work includes the procurement support, such as responding to bid questions, assisting with reviewing proposals, and vetting the contractor bidders. And of course, part of the construction management work, they'll also monitor and inspect the contractor's progress, check whether they're performing quality assurance, and they'll also issue corrective action notices when dealing with the quality of the workmanship, non-compliant, safety, and performance of other construction-related work, such as preparing daily construction reports and conducting weekly progress meetings with contractors. As I mentioned, GWA indicated that bond funds will be used to fund this contract. And so after looking at the documents, the replacement and rehabilitation and repair of these water lines are clearly critical for GWA in its efforts to work toward its capital improvement plans, since these lines are obviously in disrepair. And we note that, damage to the exposed water lines under these bridges could threaten water distribution to any connected lines, which can further add to GWA's water loss. And that the exposed sewer lines are also a potential health, environmental, and safety risk, exposing the area at the bridge site to possible sewage leaks. And we also found that GWA's selection of GHD out of 6 bidders seemed fairly competitive in my view. And so based on this record, I recommended that the PUC authorize GWA to enter into a contract with GHD, but only for the amount of $1,213,909,000. And that the additional contingency that they requested not be allowed, since the contract review protocol already allows for a 20% contingency.
Thank you, Joe. Ben, anything else? Comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The impetus for this project was a recent waterline failure that we did have at the Pago Bay Bridge. So we've rectified that. We have a redundant line, but we don't have redundant lines at all locations, which makes the conduct of all the work required on this design and CM project pretty critical for us. So we're seeking Commission's approval to move forward.
Thanks, Miguel. Any questions from the Commission?
What's the GHD?
It's a construction manager company.
Engineering and construction management.
Actually, they were the company that was in charge overlooking the northern wastewater treatment plant, or at least a sub on that.
They were the CM on that project.
Yeah, they were the CM.
GHD Incorporated.
Yeah, but what?
I don't know what it stands for.
Oh, you don't know?
Yeah.
That's the. It's like idea. Okay, just want to make sure. It might be new.
Maybe yeah, Brecky's the agent.
I think they were formerly known as Winsler and Kelly, and I think they got acquired.
Yeah.
So GHD is the new name.
I think they might be a Canadian. Not sure. That would be. Any other questions or comments? Doris, go ahead.
I just comment about the water lines and the sewer lines in the bridge. So is the plan to instead of the bridge, which is a shorter path, to bury them and go under the water? Is that feasible, or still be exposed? Even though it's here, it will still be under the bridge.
So for the repairs, they will remain under the bridge, and then we would just repair the structural elements that support it. For replacements, because the infrastructure is lined up to be under the bridge, the approach and on both sides, preference, at least from our perspective, would be to keep it that way, but design for a new water line to be put in. So it might be offset from the existing so we can maintain service, and then we cut and make a final connection to do the replacement. These are all the problems that the designer has to work out. Typically, in-water construction is more difficult from a permitting standpoint with the Army Corps of Engineers, but if we directionally drill underneath and avoid in-water work, that is also a possibility, but it is a bit more difficult, and the construction can be more expensive if there is not a contractor with that type of equipment on island, typically the mobilization costs for that kind of work. We use that technology here to do the outfalls at, again, wastewater treatment plant and also Northern District, and the mobilization costs alone for the rig and the crews were millions of dollars.
So, so we continue to have exposed water lines, most of the buildings.
Motion approved to pay docket 2310. Second. Pedro seconds. All in favor, say aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is GWA docket 2311, petition for approval of the GWA Year 3 task order for professional services contract. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Joe Pat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This matter is before the commission based on GWA's request for the commission to approve a Year 3 task order for its professional services contract with eSource, which is formerly known as WSO. And pursuant to the February 27, 2020 rate decision, GWA submitted a water loss study that set forth its water loss control program and provided details on an island-wide DMA-based water loss control approach that would monitor and manage water losses within the GWA water supply and distribution network. This program involves the installation of 36 district metered areas, also known as DMAs, which cover 594 miles of main and 42,000 customer service connections that closely monitor the level of water losses with the goal of providing complete island-wide coverage of the entire water distribution network. And so to implement this program, GWA had to seek the technical assistance from a water loss control specialist company that was experienced in implementing these DMAs, who would further provide supervision of GWA's implementation of this DMA monitoring system. It would also provide training for GWA staff in comprehensive leak detection, and it would also provide further supervision of the water loss control program. And so in 2021, GWA issued an RFP seeking the services of a utility consultant to support its implementation of this water loss control program. And then it entered into a contract with eSource in July of this year. And GWA is before the commission because this third year task order will exceed the $1 million threshold indicated in its contract review protocol. And just to give the commission idea of what the eSource contract entails, GWA's scope of work includes the review and analysis of water loss control measures, which will review GWA's existing water loss control practices, and eSource will also assess these practices. eSource is also tasked with reviewing the analytical studies related to water loss control, and it will review GWA's current capital improvement program as it relates to water loss control. It's further tasked with developing a strategy to implement GWA's water control measures and other programs related to water loss control. And according to GWA, this Year 3 task order, the bulk of this Year 3 task order is to continue eSource's work in managing GWA's water loss control program. which involves a review of the water audit data, transient data analysis for 36 district metered areas, transportation and lodging for e-source personnel, as well as inflation. And so the additional $400,000 that GWA requests for this third year of the contract is to basically fund additional equipment to perform the water loss tests, to install the equipment to perform the tests, and the increased cost and expense for the contractor staff to physically be on site to monitor and conduct these tests. And so, based on this review, I believe that there's no doubt that the non-revenue water and water loss control are significant issues for GWA. And so their efforts to reduce water loss are crucial, and it should be shared with this commission. And while GWA's program is making strides towards implementing this island-wide DNA water loss control approach, it's essential that their work with eSource continue, and that the commission should support its efforts to implement the essential components of this water loss control program. And so based on this record, Mr. Chairman, I recommended that the commission approve the additional amount of $422,289 to further fund its current contract with eSource, and that the amount will come from GWA's operations and maintenance budget.
Thanks, Miguel. Thanks, Joe. Go ahead, Miguel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This also relates to the discussion we had on Tuesday night about standing up the third leak detection team. That is required for the year 3 implementation. As we add more DMAs, we need another team to be actively doing the leak detection within those DMAs. eSource provides us with one resident supervisor who is in the third year going to be shadowed by one of the leak detection team members that has risen up to the leader position. We're going to get him trained up so that moving beyond the implementation period, he is able to do the daily management of all 3 leak detection teams as we move forward. So that's part of the intent of year 3 implementation as well. In addition, we have asked for one additional task item in this coming year, and that's because we're having issues with transients, pressure spikes within the distribution system. Because we're putting in metering and pressure monitoring devices in the DMAs anyway, we've asked them to provide special transient sensing equipment. So these pressure spikes happen very quickly, and most pressure loggers only log intermediate once every 3 minutes. They're not quick enough to catch the water hammer events that we think are causing some of our breaks. So we've added that task to help us get a better handle on how that might be managed. And those instrumentation and that installation and monitoring is part of this year's efforts on this task force.
So the DMA system you're setting up, it's not simply going to be diagnostic, but you're going to offer some sort of therapy for the system, I guess, too. It's going to have some influence on pressure spikes and so forth.
It will help us narrow down where, when, and why they're occurring. And so all we see at the result of what we suspect is a pressure spike is broken pipe.
Yeah.
We'd like to be able to know temporally exactly when it occurs so we can tie it to other events that might, and locations if we can, so that will help us figure out if system improvements are needed, such as surge tanks or bladder tanks in order to absorb that type of shock, that instantaneous pressure, where to put them and how to size them. So it's just, collecting the data so that we can be more intelligent about how we address permanent solutions to these issues.
And as you're aware, Miguel, the commission here has felt great deal of support for the water loss control program over the last few years. And we're serious enough about it that we gave you your full complement in this recent request for a rate increase.
Thank you, Jeff.
And thanks to Mr. McDonald here for doing that. So we're looking forward to seeing the results of this as it unfolds over time.
Yeah, I apologize. I owe you a report in July, but because of the typhoon recovery, I didn't get to it. And so I do owe you a report, and you will see another report from us with an update on how the DMA implementation is going.
Okay, thanks, Miguel. Any questions from the commissioners? John?
Currently, is there any monitoring system out or system?
So we're in year 2, we're finishing up year 2, and we already have 21 DMAs established. So within those DMAs, we have flow meters that we're monitoring. We also upload our customer meter data, and we have NRW Manager software system, which is being used by the consultants, but our staff is also being trained to use and analyze it. So we're getting data, we're comparing it, and that's what's driving the leak detection efforts. And when they go through, they do the repairs. We've seen declines in the non-revenue water, but what we're finding, as I mentioned in the last report I gave the PUC, what we're seeing is that it's whack-a-mole because the condition of the pipe is just not good enough to sustain the repairs and the reduction. So what it's pointing to is we really need to just do pipe replacements, which is a big priority in our next 5-year CIP.
I would ask for a suggestion. I've been, received a couple of notices that I think was very good for DWA. It's reporting saying in your number such and such or account number such and such. My problem for me is because I do have some units, I had no idea which unit it is, you know. So my suggestion would be is when you do that, account number, location, act, where it is, that would help, because then so I just wait again until the bill comes, because you also have it on your bill, that there's continuous water. So just a suggestion, put the physical location when that goes out to the customer. So I have gotten on my telephone saying account number such and such, or I haven't had this account number or meter number as continuous flow.
That's a good suggestion. I'll bring it up, and if it's automated, I'm pretty sure we can get that information.
As service location, wherever that.
Thank you.
But thank you for having. I spent a lot of money. Barry, each time I have to call Barry, it costs me over $1,300 to find that leak. And they said, if I have another one, I think I'm just gonna pay for the leak as opposed to pay for the repair.
Yeah, just to piggyback on Doris, I have the same problem, and I usually get an indication on my cell phone that there's something wrong, leak and all that. But this time I did not, and I had to wait for a letter because they said I did not sign for a waiver to be informed with the cell phone to say, well, you know, the letter came 3 weeks later. Lucky thing I found the problem 2 days before. It cost me tremendous amount of money.
Yes.
So I kind of like want to advise that everyone should just get a phone call or something and say, there's something wrong with your water line. Because it's really lost on both sides. You pay the electricity to use the water, and then you have to pay the water. And sometimes I think it might take a payment plan to do all of this because not a lot of people can afford to pay it right away. The second one is this thing has been going on for 2 years. So do you have any data that tells us how much you have found, how much they have repaired. Things like that.
Yes. I'll present it in the next report.
Thank you.
Just wanted to make a comment since you're Tuesday night. And with Georgetown, I noticed Joe just kind of breezed over that one section where Georgetown was praising your your study, and it says that they express that your water loss study presented encouraging strategies for reduction of water loss, and that the proposal shows significant improvements in results compared to the past efforts. Significantly, Georgetown has indicated that GWA should be supportive for implementing this plan, and if GWA follows the guidelines WSO has outlined carefully, the commission can expect to see improvements. So, just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you.
Isn't that nice when we all get along, Miguel?
So nice at Georgetown City.
Anything else?
I'll move motion to approve GWA docket 2311.
Joe seconds, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion passes unanimously. And next item, GWA docket 2312, petition to approve the Ulam rehabilitation, the rebid, contract approval. We have an ALJ report and proposed order. Fred?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. In this matter, GPA is requesting approval of its contract award to Sumitomo Mitsui Construction Company for the rehabilitation and upgrade of GWA's Ugam plant. This is not the first time this matter has been before you. In GWA docket 2301, PUC authorized GWA to issue an invitation for bid to procure construction services and supplies to rehabilitate the Ugam surface water treatment plant. There was indicated that the Ugam plant produces surface water to serve Guam's southern water system. It treats the Ugam river water and then pumps the river water into storage reservoirs to serve the island's southern residents. After the commission approved the procurement, GWA did issue a procurement, an IFP, but unfortunately received no bids for the Ugam Waters Rehabilitation Construction Project. So it then issued a rebid package in May of 2023. There were only two bidders that submitted bids, and Sumitomo was the lowest priced, responsive, and responsible bidder, submitting a base bid of $9,188,777. The CCU has already authorized management to accept that bid and to enter into a contract with Sumitomo for that amount. But under the contract review protocol, of course, this amount exceeds $1 million, so it requires contract review. And in addition, it appears now that GWA would pay for this contract with a combination of revenue funds, bond funds, and US EPA grants. So of course, whenever bond funds are used, that triggers a review under the contract review protocol. In docket GWA 2301, the PUC already found that there was a definite need for justification for the repairs and rehabilitation. It was stated that the Ugam plant is a critical water source that provides water to much of southern Guam. The proposed rehabilitation is necessary and urgent to improve plant capacity, treatment performance, and provide reliable operation of the water treatment plant. The project is urgently needed to provide efficient and reliable operation of the plant and continued provision of safe drinking water to GWA customers in southern Guam. So this rehabilitation includes a lot of aspects and details. I'll just say overall, it talks about rehabilitation and upgrades in the raw water pumps at the river intake, settling basin, membranes, pipe gallery, generator room, backwash, neutralization tank, sludge tank, thickening system, operations and chemical building, and administration building. And I have attached a copy of the Sumitomo bid if we really want to get into the further details of the repairs. So the problem is that originally, when this project was estimated by GWA's representative, DCA, they had estimated the total cost with a 10% contingency at $4,626,050. So I think the commission is seeing here something that it's seen with a lot of the utilities, the Port Authority, the GPA, about how the contract prices really have been increasing since the pandemic and increasing by a lot. And that seems to be the case of what happened here. So when GWA received that bid, I thought about, well, what can we do? You know, should we do a rebid again? Should we accept those amounts? And I think they determined that first of all, it's not likely they're going to get better bids just because they rebid. And there was a critical need to undertake this project. So they then decided that they would seek the bond and US EPA grants to help fund this project. And they decided a rebid is not really appropriate here. Breakdown of the resources for the contract award. So from bond funds, there'd be $4.626 million out of the 2016 bond funds. US EPA grant, $3,847,000, and unallocated bond interest from income liability improvements funding category, $1,634,000. That comes up to the total $10,107,654.70. And that includes a 10% contingency, which I'll discuss in a minute. The proposed contract was attached to the petition. The commission had already reviewed that docket 13-2301 and found that it seemed to include the standard protections for ratepayers at GWA. The contract would be completed within 365 calendar days from the notice to proceed. So in the recommendation, I do recommend that the commission approve the basic award amount of $9,188,777. We know the project is far in excess of the original estimate, but again, GWA is put between a rock and a hard place. I mean, it's either you pay the amount or you don't do the project. I think they feel that because of its critical nature, not doing the project isn't acceptable. It doesn't appear that they would get a better bid if they went out for procurement again. Now, the 10% contingency, I kind of carefully looked at the contract review protocol again. And actually, that 20% that is normally there seems to apply to multi-year contracts. So from what I'm saying, this isn't a multi-year contract. It seems that it would be completed in 1 year. So I read the contract review protocol to say that the 20% doesn't apply, but for that reason, I would recommend approval of the 10% contingency, which is the amount that you requested, $10,107,654. I believe it's 60 in the contract review protocol mentions that 120% in the multi-year contract provisions. I thought about it before.
Thank you, Fred. Miguel?
This plant was the first plant to come back on, not the first, but it came back online in the southern water system, which is the only water system that this plant serves. was the first to be fully restored after Mawar. It took a beating, and the staff worked really hard to get it back up and running, but it is, this plant needs love. And part of the reason why we didn't want to risk going back out, just because, you know, it needs attention, and we don't want to wait to start that attention. The other thing that the commission should know, there were 2 bidders on the second go round, and the bids were, you know, the concern would be if there was only one bidder and it was that far off from the estimate that, you know, it's just because there was one bidder, no competition. But there were 2 bids received, and there were within $60,000 of each other. I think 52,000. So both bids were right there. And so this is what we're seeing in the construction market, and the prices are just going up. And so we were fortunate. I called our grant representative at EPA to request a reprogramming of some of the grants so that we could use this for UGM, and they obliged with the $3 million. And the CFO, I also said, you need to help me find the money so we can do this. And the unallocated bond interest also kicked in, and we took a portion of that to make up the difference. So we worked real hard to find the money. The plant needs the attention, and we're hoping that you agree with this and allow us to proceed.
Thanks, Miguel. Any comments from the commission? Horace, go ahead.
Just one comment. What is the estimated timeline to complete this project? Because you said it needs a lot of work.
It is a year. We put that in the bid documents, and that's what the contractor did on. In my experience, though, inevitably there will be delays if there's a permitting issue or something. Then, you know, it could go longer. And as soon as we get to 366 days with the first time extension, I'll come back and ask for the other 10% of the contingency.
Miguel, does the water from this plant feed Calfofo, Irahan, Marizo, all the way to United?
From EPAM to Umatic, but Calfofo gets its water from Cross Island Road and the Brigade Booster Pump Station, and that's well water. There is an interconnection. There is another project for the Brigade Booster Pump Station to upgrade that and the connection so that it will allow us to push water from UGM across Cross Island Road down towards San Rita to reduce Navy water purchases. That project has not been constructed yet. The design is done, but we haven't got a bid out on that yet, but we will soon, and that will help. The other thing that would help is after rehabilitation, if we're pursuing a project grants right now with the Bureau of Reclamation to do some major improvements at the river intake to increase reliability, possibly if we can get grant funds to do a raw water reservoir, so we don't have to shut UGM down when the turbidity is high. If we can get all of that done and bump up the capacity, you know, we have more than enough water right now with the current capacity to serve the south. We double it, we can send more water across and relieve some pressure on the Navy.
Are we connected from Umatic to Agate? We have a connection there?
No.
The system is...
Commissioner Guerrero talked to me about that after the last meeting. We did a feasibility study on it previously when Commissioner Guerrero was still with the CCU, and that project was very expensive because of the elevation changes. It would require multiple tanks, multiple pump stations. The other option we looked at was micro tunneling, so that we kind of go directly through the mountain, and that was also fairly expensive. So for the amount of water that we could get with the current condition at UGM, it just doesn't make sense. But we put in kind of a project fact sheet on that with FEMA for future resiliency, and if they give us free money to do it, we will push that through.
And the 2 big tanks on the road coming up out of Agate towards Umatic, are those functional? Are those just feeding Agate itself then?
They're both functional. The one at the top, we don't keep more than 10 feet of water in that tank, even though that's like maybe 30% of the capacity, just because there's so little usage between those two tanks that it gets stale. So they're both being used, not to their full capacity, but and they are slated for rehabilitation. One is underway right now, and then when we finish that one, we'll move to the other one.
Pedro, go ahead.
Yeah, with that comment, I'd like to find out when the brigade farm will be done from Hogan to,
I think we'll be back before you to get approval on the contract, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna go above $1 million.
next month.
I don't know, I'll find out, sir.
And
I keep pushing this.
that would allow water to be brought up towards Santa Rita.
Affordable.
More Ugam water when Ugam can provide it, yeah.
And does Ugam have the capacity to increase significantly?
So the plant is rated at 4 million gallons a day. We're only putting out 2 million gallons a day, roughly, with the current state of the plant. Part of this will be the rehabilitation, could improve that. Having additional capacity at the additional tankage at the site, which is also a project that we've recently awarded, and that's going to be ongoing. All of these things will help increase the amount that we can get out of them.
How much Navy water are we buying daily now? How many millions of gallons?
I want to say it's close to 2 MGD.
2 million?
Yeah.
So if you could garner another 2 million out of Ugam and bring it over, you could almost cut them out.
Almost.
Even the game just a little bit. Okay, that would be welcome news. Anything else, commissioners? Their motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Can you read that so?
There's a second? Second. Joe seconds. All in favor, say aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Miguel, and thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, commissioners. Very much appreciated.
Thank you for not being involved.
Next item is administrative matters. We have a budget review and a fiscal year 2024 administrative budget and annual assessment order. You want to start this, Fred?
I think we're starting with the financial review.
Financial review first, okay. Go ahead, George.
Passed out the 11 months ended August 31st. And what we'll find is that we have a loss for those 11 months of about $12,000. Part of what happened is that we really didn't increase our allocation, and we did have a number of increases in our area, and so the loss of $12,000 through August is expected to go, or actually almost $13,000 in August is expected to go up even higher in September, because we're going to have more all expenses and the revenue has already been recognized. Among them, of course, would include rent, salaries, or administrative law judge, things of that nature. But I don't have a good sense of how much that will be, but it's going to be at least 20,000 or more. So as a result of that, the budget for next year has gone up significantly from 490, which is the current year's budget, to 550. And one other contributing factor for that is that, I guess, last month, we
the commission approved the conversion of our assistant to go from half-time to full-time. So that's going to add another 25,000 additional expenses for 2024. So as Luce had told me when we were discussing this the other day, this is the first time she's seen a loss in the commission, but we certainly have enough money to absorb that loss, and I would hope that to help us regain a little bit of that. We do have some TCDs, but we only have $100,000 in TCDs, and I hope that the commission will think about. We have 2 TCDs of 50,000 each. One is at 4.3%, and the other one is, I believe, at 4.7%, the later one. The comments from the Federal Reserve are that they don't plan to do a decrease in the Fed funds rate for now. They're holding steady because they want to, what's the word, get more data to see whether or not they will have to increase going down. So it's expected that rates will continue to remain high through most of 2024, and with the 100,000 in TCDs at 4%, we'll gain maybe a little bit over $4,000, a little over $4,000. And so I would like us to consider, and I know we have to do this by resolution, Fred, but I would like for us to consider putting another 50,000 sometime in October, and then maybe the following month, another 50,000. And so we would have kind of lathered it, because right now, the first TCD is sometime in March, and the second TCD, I believe, is sometime in June. And then this one, if the body approves it, will be sometime in October, and maybe we can wait, rather than do 100,000 in October, do 50,000, and then another 50,000 maybe in November. And then that will be kind of our laddering effect. And then come March of next year, if we do need it for whatever reason, we can always cash it in, and if we don't, we can roll it over. And of course, we'll see by then what rates will be at that time. So I hope that the commission will approve the 2024 budget, and Fred and I are here to answer any questions you folks might have.
For TCD, make a motion, or we have to have a resolution? And
I think you could do a motion. You could follow it up with a paperwork for
I'd like to make
maybe one.
I'd like to make a motion for TCD, in October for 50,000.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Did you want to do a second motion for the November one?
There is a suggestion of Fred.
Okay,
We can wait and decide that when we get to them.
sure. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
I have a question, though, on the assessment order that Fred has prepared. And,
Well, I had the same question I had about the
allocation? Yeah, I don't think GWA, solid waste and the port should be charge the same as GPA and GWA? Because I know that solid waste came to us maybe twice during the year, mainly for the purchase of.
Doris, they have a major rate case coming, up, just about ready to be filed.
Oh.
So for this coming year, the commission will be addressing that. So that's why I think it's fair this year. And you know, we've been pretty lenient about not charging them sometimes for services. So, it seemed this year that would be appropriate. The board also, I'm thinking they might come up with a rate. So,
Yeah, I think
those take a lot more work, and that's why we think it.
I think the board has run through its previous years of rate case. Probably about time.
So is solid waste ready to come up with a rate case?
It's almost ready.
It's almost ready.
They were asking me just yesterday, do they need an attorney to file it? I said, no. And I've been helping them somewhat, how to put it together.
Okay.
Just a question of how long have you been here? Is there quite a service?
We've been way before our time. He's been here forever.
I've been in this building since the 1980s. Actually, and I'm thinking about 1983 when Harry Bertzel was the ALJ. His law office was in this building.
Over there.
When is the contract up for the rent?
Rental is up. It's been up since April of this year, but they're still trying to work on it with the monthly basis. Yeah, so we'll find out what the final is to renew.
Maybe that's what we have to do, just go out for a bid.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go out for a
It's a beautiful building and everything, but the appearance of us being there.
Where?
It
Oh, no, that's a
we
conflict.
don't want to be there.
Yeah, that's a conflict. Yeah, no. No, that's a conflict right off the bat. No.
The look we have right now with the siesta tables, like Peter said, is exactly what we want.
Yeah, no. I would not want to go to. And not only that, it's too far. But I think if we go out, are we on a month-to-month move?
right now on a month.
Oh, then
for
we
now.
need to prepare
We
a
can
proposal
prepare.
and put it out to bid. For the next 4 years or so.
I see them.
Then, do we need a motion for that, or can we just tell them to do it?
Well,
Why are
I
we
don't
on a
know, I
month?
think you might want to get something.
For now, I can get all the information and I can give it to you, and if you wanted to go out for bid, we can.
But when was the last time we went out for bid?
Oh, so long, we were here since 88.
Oh, sure.
1988.
We've thought about it from time to time a little bit, but not very serious.
Yeah.
Isn't that not quite in conformance with the procurement law?
Yeah, well, I
It's
don't,
hard to find a place
But
where
remember,
you
the
can have.
procurement law doesn't apply to.
Well, that's where I disagree with you. That's where I disagree, but we're not yet at that area, at that junction.
What we would need in addition to space for an office is to to have something like this.
Yes.
So that's not so easy to get.
So, I mean, all I'm saying is if we go out and, and GCIC offers the best, we'll stay here. But, we do have to think about, at least from a procurement point of view, that we've got our due diligence to search the market. Well, and at the DNA building, OPA has not quite as big as this, maybe up to the door size, has a room that they use for procurement and then they use for training and other things, because procurement varies, procurement field, that's where they hold the procurement field area, so that has a big enough area for the public. Huh? Well, if it's available to another government entity, okay, in the past has not charged, I don't know now, you know what I'm saying? But there is a room on the 9th or 10th floor that is strictly for procurement appeals.
This is in DNA.
DNA, yeah. And OPA owns that, so OPA is paying for that at this full price, but it has for training, not too many other government agencies have availed themselves of it, so that would be one way they might want to, I don't know. But in our case, it would be regular, and we would want to be able to have it always on. And since our meetings are usually in the evening and they don't hold meetings in the evening, it would not be an issue. The only issue is that it's slightly small, but it is cold.
I was just gonna ask, they have air conditioning?
Yes, it is freezing, not like this. It is freezing.
Well, let's take a look at the budget. Any questions on the budget? All approved? Yeah. Okay. I got lost there. Anything else then this evening?
The assessment order.
The assessment.
So, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. All the entities will be charged $110,000. Telecom is always the difficult part about how we break that down. And there's two parts. There's kind of a base amount, which the companies all agreed to, 2017. And then the rest of that, which is 65,000, since the total is 110,000. We base that on the utilization by the telecom companies of the PUC services over the last year. We figure out the percentages, and that's how we come out with the apportionment for each of the companies. And usually it's GTA is the highest, Docomo, TTI, and PDS used to use their services a lot, but I don't think they like the cost.
Yeah, they've been quite quiet lately.
Yes, quite a while. Yeah. So anyway, but the commission should consider this.
No, he was,
So that would be, I'm trying to figure out the percentage. So it's basically they agreed on 45,000.
we started that in 1 Okay. Any other questions on that, or is there a motion? Second? Yes. Pedro seconds, all in favor? Motion passes unanimous. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. This one is actually earlier than